Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be my part 2 of Road to Julie Palmer / post competition season. So if you're interested in hearing my overall thoughts about competing in bodybuilding and what is to come next for me, let's go. Tobias, hold on, I need a light. I'm not about to play with you. Alright, so if you've been watching my journey, you know that I started training, specifically to compete in, I made my decision in end of December, and then my training shifted from January to March with my previous coach, and then I got a coach specifically to train me for my competitions. So, altogether, 6 months for real in it, with the idea and motivation to compete. And I did it. If you've seen my first video or part 1 of competing, then you saw some of my stage pictures, and I'll have more stage pictures at the end of this video from both competitions. And so I have some of my takeaways. I have my numbers. So my first competition was June 3rd. I competed in figure division, and I was number 273. For my second competition, I did wellness division, and I was number 60. And overall, I had a great time. Yeah, overall I had a great time. I really pushed myself past all limits that I thought I was capable of. Easiest part was working out, because I like to work out in general. Hardest part, cutting out alcohol, because, you know, socially I just like to have a good time with my friends. And then eating strict, because I had to cut out sugar and heavy carbs and candy and fruit and things that I enjoy. So that was hard. And also just being kind of not excited to hang out all the time, because I just couldn't do most of the things, and so I just felt like a little lame or a Debbie Downer. But overall, I'm happy that I did it, because it was one of my goals for turning 30. And so overall, I had a great time. So just to go over, I'm going to go over my show experience. So I had 2 shows, like I said before. The one show, or my first show, was more locally. It was only in downtown Dayton at the convention center. And it was split with men going earlier in the day and the women going in the afternoon. So I didn't have to be there until 1 o'clock. And then pre-judging started, or no, I didn't have to be there till 1 or 2 o'clock. And then pre-judging started at 3, which was me going out on stage in my figure divisions and doing my solo presentation, which was me going in the center and doing my poses that best represents me. And then I would go in with my class, who was ever in my height class, and then we would be compared doing our quarter turns, which was everyone doing the same pose, showcasing your body and what the judges are looking for. So overall, that day, I guess I wasn't nervous the day of. I have been nervous the whole week leading up to. I was very anxious. I was very emotional. If you saw my part 1 to that, you would see my daily vlogs and how I was so up and down. I was also on my cycle earlier in that week, so that played a huge part of my emotional side being very heightened. And then, but when I woke up on Saturday, I felt at ease. Like, I had my mom here, I had a few of my aunts, some of my best friends, and I felt really, really happy and excited to do this thing that I have been training for 6 months. And so by the time I got to the convention center, you know, I was ready. I had got my tan the night before and earlier in the morning for a touch-up. I had got my makeup done, and it was perfect. My hair was really pretty and very different from how everybody else's hair was at the show. I was the only person with locks that I saw at this show, I believe. And then I started to meet all of the other women in my division and other divisions, and everybody was really nice. Like, I didn't really know what to expect from the people competing, because I mean, we are trying to be the best and win overall, but it was really nice just talking to people, especially people who it was still like their first or second or third show. They were still new to it, so they were like, yeah, girl, just get up there and do it. It is a lot of work, but I mean, you have fun, and then you get to learn what you need to work on from feedback from the judges after, you know, you get your placing and stuff. So that was awesome. And so prejudging happened, and then there was a little break, and then we went back to finals. And finals was pretty simple. We only had to go out and do our quarter turns. We didn't have to do a solo presentation at this one. And then they ranked us. So in that one, so in that show, I did figure. And in my height class, no, I think I was only in novice, which I think that was a little bit messed up because I put open class and novice is really just the category that you've never competed or you haven't placed first in your division. But for some reason, I think I only went out in novice, and it kind of tripped me up a bit. But it's almost a month later, and I'm not about to be like, hey, I didn't get a chance to compete in the open in my height class, so what are we going to do about it? It's not that big of a deal. So I placed 4th, and out of 4 girls, I was 4th. And my goal was to place 3rd or higher, and that was going to be my determining factor if I did the next show that was 2 weeks later. But obviously, I did the second show anyway, but I had already made up my mind even before I touched the stage that I wanted to do the second show just to see the difference in how, 1, a show is ran, 2, a bigger show in general, and 3, just to see more experience, because I had not watched a show at all or been to a competition to just watch and observe. So I knew in my head that I wanted to do that even before I went out on stage. So going out onto stage is like something that's not new to me. If you don't know, I am a dancer, an artist, a movement coach, and so movement in general is really fun for me. I feel very at home, and I like giving a show or performance. And so during my solo presentation, I worked it. Your girl was working, and my people who showed up, like I had almost 30 people in the crowd rocking for me that was specifically there for me. So the energy was very, very live when I was on stage, and that made me feel really, really good. And so I thought I did really good on my solo presentation. I definitely stumbled in my first pose, but you know, it comes with the territory of like, this is my first time. I didn't know what the stage really, like we didn't get a chance to be on the stage until it was time for us to actually walk on. So that happened, and you know, I just kept going. Just like if I would have failed dancing or something, I would have just kept going. And that's what I did. And I felt really good. And then on our comparisons, I felt pretty good. And looking back on my pictures, I looked really good. Like, I looked awesome. And I think because I was new, and I think my posing was different from people who were in my class, because some of the women in my class, we had the same coach, and they were able to be in person with him. So they did posing with him, and I did posing with one of my friends that I know through Gyrotonic, because she's also a bodybuilder and Pilates instructor, and she lives in Tennessee. So I did my posing with her, and it was very easy for me to take her cues and coaching because she used terms that was relatable to dance. And I think that my posing was different, but not bad, but because it was so different from the others that I think I got points knocked off for that, which is cool. And then one of the feedbacks that I got from that specific show was to do better or get work on my conditioning, which is like training and getting lean, and then work on my posing and to build my shoulders, lats, and legs. So that was cool. Overall, that day wasn't terribly long. I think it went from like 2 to 6. And then after that, I got burrito tacos and pizza and had 1 alcoholic drink that night. And I was just overall very happy, very grateful that I got to do that. And it was a great show. And so moving on to the next one that was 2 weeks later. This one was ran differently, but from what I heard from the first show. So what I had heard from the first show is that the second show was going to be run more like how most shows are ran. And so the setup was that everyone needed to be there for the meeting before at 8:45, and prejudging started at 9 o'clock with the men. And so the lineup was mostly all of the men categories and then the women. There were a few women categories mixed in with a few of the men ones, but most of the men went first and then the ladies. And so it was a lot of waiting time for this one. And it was a little bit further, so it was like an hour away from my house. And so I had to drive up Friday night because I needed to get my base tan. And then I actually saw the Flash that night, which if you saw it, you know, it was decent. But it was really hard because I didn't have anything but water at the theater, and I really wanted popcorn, and it was annoying. But saw the Flash that night and then went to sleep. I had to get up early in the morning to start eating my meals and then meet my coach to go over my posing. And then I had a makeup appointment at, I think she came at 10. Yeah, I think she came around 10, and then that was like an hour. And by the time I got downstairs, I was still waiting. Like, I still waited like an hour and a half before my division went up. But there were more people in general, so there was more women to be comparing or looking at. And then especially for the ladies that I had met at the first show, there was one of the winners was there for the division that I was in this time around. And so I was a little bit intimidated, a little bit like, I don't know if I should be doing this, but I'm already here. I've already spent my money, so it didn't matter. I was going to do it anyway. I definitely don't think I was as confident as my first show because I had switched a whole division within 2 weeks. I had to learn different poses, and I had to rent a whole different suit in order to be qualified to be in this division. And so yeah, I don't think I was mentally the most confident that I could have been. And then the 2 weeks leading up to the show, I was burnt out, honestly. I didn't want to do my cardio. I didn't want to eat the food. The food wasn't agreeing with me. I couldn't really eat steak right then. And I told my coach I couldn't eat tuna. It was just like being really hard on my digestive system, and I just felt sick. So I was burnt out. I didn't want to do the things, but I had already signed up. I kind of wish I would have waited to sign up to see how I felt, because you could sign up until the day before. I kind of wish I would have waited, but I was already there at that point, and I had to go through with it, and that is exactly what I did. And so by the time it was time for my division to go on, I was pretty anxious and nervous, but you know, it happens. I met a few new ladies that looked amazing, and they were all super nice. In the wellness division, there was 8 of us, and normally, depending on if you have more than a certain number of people in your class, they start to break you up in height. But this one, because there was only less than 10, they said all of us together, and so they split us into 4s. The first group of 4, and then the second group of 4. And then they called out the first group, which I didn't get a first call out for either of my shows. And I know that's a good thing to look forward to if you get called out in the first group after doing your individual presentations. So that didn't happen on both, and I'm okay with that. First shows, you know, I'm still learning and, you know, still trying to figure out how the things actually work. But yeah, I didn't get first call outs, but I still felt good about my solo presentation. I didn't have a lot of people in the crowd specifically for me this time, but I still had pretty good energy with people who were there and who thought I looked pretty good, so shout out to them. So that happened, but then, get this. With this show, there was a 4-hour break. So after all of the last ladies finished in the figure division, because figure was last, there was a 4-hour break. So I got to finish some meals, I got to take a nap, I got to just wait around, and then finals happened, which went pretty quick. And then this finals, we did have to show just one pose individually before they did comparison again, before they ranked us. So because there was 8 of us, they gave out the top 5, and the top 5 people get medals, and everyone else doesn't get anything. So I didn't get anything from that. Oh, and I didn't know if I showed this, but this is my medal from the first one, and it's really nice. Like, I need to find somewhere to put this at. It says 2023 Women's Figure Novice 4th place, and it is the NPC, which is National Physique Committee, Julie Palmer Ultimate Showdown for bodybuilding, bikini, fitness, figure, wellness, and physique. Pretty dope. So I got this for the first show. The second show, I didn't get anything. And then in the second show, I had to go to ask who worked backstage, like, what was my ranking, because they didn't tell the last couple of us, like, what place we were in. And so when he said 8th, I was like, aw. But then I was like, okay, great. Now that that's done, I can go eat. And we had been talking all day about what we wanted to eat throughout the day for everybody, because everybody had, like, an idea of what they wanted. And I think pizza came up, and I was like, I want pizza. Like, I want a good pizza. And so I ended up getting pizza after. And honestly, it wasn't the best pizza, but it was pretty good. And then I had a watermelon mojito. Talk about a refreshing drink. It was really, 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 really good. And then after that, I went home the next morning. And honestly, I felt really down. I felt really down on Sunday. My friends that I had met, and we have the same coach, they placed really, really well. They placed in the top 3 and first in their divisions. And I just felt a little bit defeated because I didn't get a place in where I could have, like, a takeaway or a medal or anything. So Sunday was a bit weird for me. I was in a pretty low space and just having a lot of overthinking negative thoughts about the second show. And it took me till about Tuesday or Wednesday to really get out that funk. I updated my coach, my posing coach, my friends who were, rooting for me and wanted to know about the second one, how it went, and they were just like, oh, but you still did so good. And it was good reassurance to hear that even though I didn't place in the top 5, even though, I felt pretty down about myself, people were proud of me, and then that helped me be proud of myself. So there's that. So overall, both of the shows were great. I would say if you're interested in trying to do bodybuilding, definitely find shows that are locally, because I couldn't imagine traveling for my first show. There was so much to go into it. I still had to pack all my food to travel an hour away to have all my meals for the night I got there and the next day. So trying to imagine flying or driving more than an hour to do it wouldn't be my idea for a first-time competitor. Next, I do want to talk about the pros and cons. So I have some pros here. I think my pros are that I went to local and semi-smaller shows, that it was a great learning experience for something that I had put on my bucket list maybe 2 years ago and really brought it to fruition to do for myself. Definitely meeting new people, all sorts of people. A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of moms, a lot of just people in different areas of life that you wouldn't think compete. And then once you find out that they compete, you're like, oh, that is the coolest thing. And it's really an expensive hobby, so just know that you are coming out of pocket, and I will get to that next. And then meeting or having great coaches. My first coach is a brother of one of my closest friends, and he was awesome. I met him once, but we talked all the time for my check-ins, and he was very knowledgeable, and he used to compete as well. And then he led me to my coach that I used to prep for my shows, who was phenomenal. And just really, like, to the point, no sugarcoating, no no BS. He reminded me of like my old school dance teachers, like, you're gonna do this or you're not, and if you're not gonna do it, tell me, because I don't want to waste your time, I don't want to waste my time. He was really like that. And then all of the support that I had from my family and my friends, near and far, especially to those people who came to my first show, like, y'all, y'all had a special place in my heart. I think I cried that Sunday after everybody left, just like out of joy and pure love that people really came and showed up for me for something that, you know, that I just really decided to do not too long ago. Moving on to the cons though, because there are a few cons, and I can be biased about the cons because I'm new to it and I wasn't really prepared. But yeah, here we go. So my cons. One, for myself, I just should have done more research. I went on a lot of he say, she say type stuff, which is good because it was people who were in the community, or people who have competed before, but I could have done more due diligence for myself to do more research on things. So that's on me. The next one, comparison. Oh my God, a con for myself again is comparing. Once I got to the competitions and it was like you're trying to size people up, you're trying to figure out who's in your division and who's looking a little bit better. It really is about you competing against yourself. The people who competed for years, they're like, I'm just trying to be better than the person I put on stage the last time. I'm trying to beat that person. So at the end of my second show, that was my like thought process. Like, I'm trying to be better than number 8 in wellness if I do that one again, and I'm trying to be better than number 4 on figure if I do that one again. So comparison is definitely a con, and I know we do it all day, every day. Social media is one of those things where you're like looking at people post whatever they want to post, not knowing if it's like real, sincere, genuine, fake. So comparison does come up in the sport, but just know that you should be comparing yourself to yourself in the next time you want to compete, and not really the people who are standing side by side by you. It happens, but it shouldn't be like ongoing negative thing happening. All right, cost. Let me tell you, if you want to do this, it's a costly hobby. You're paying to do this thing, okay? So you got to pay for your coach. You got to pay for your NPC registration. You got to pay for each division you're trying to compete in. So if it's more than one, you got to pay for Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, even if it's the same show, even after you register for the show. If you want the professional stage pictures, you got to pay for that. You got to pay for your suit. You got to pay for your hair, your nails, your makeup. You got to pay for lodging if it's not in your local area. Yeah, it's costly, man. And let me tell you, I wish I would have known that I could rent a suit before I bought my suit, because now I'm trying to resell my suit, and I would rent from now on. My suit, insert picture, we'll put it over here. My suit, $860. And it's beautiful, I ain't gonna lie. I looked good in that one. $860 for this suit, and this is my figure suit. So I wore this on the first show. And then this is my second suit, which I rented. $160. Yeah, wish I would have known about that before I had already spent the money. More research, okay? So do your research, ask your questions if you're interested in doing this thing. I can probably just wrap all of this in one. So it became more of a con towards the end, which is my diet, my food, my supplements, and my digestive system. Near the end, it was out of whack. It was tired. It was in need of other things that I wasn't able to have at the time. And I think being in prep for that long and having to change so much throughout that time, you really got to think about how long your body can sustain something like this. Like, I mean, I know people prep all through the year, but there has to be a point where it can get a little bit overbearing, and I felt like that towards the end, going into my second show, that my body was just like, we really need a break, we really want some carbs, and we want some real sugar because it's been so long, just because, you know. So overall it wasn't terrible, but like towards the end it became a little too much for me to handle. So yeah, those are my pros and cons. Moving on to, will I do it again? I'm not gonna think about it too hard, honestly. If I feel the urge to, yes, but I'm not gonna say it's a definite yes. I'm just interested in keeping my body healthy. I want to definitely be in a gain / off season of bodybuilding, so not having to worry about my what I'm eating, not having to do so much cardio, and really just focusing on movements that I think will help me if I still decide to do this down the line, but also moves that I want to do that I haven't done in months. Like a hip thrust, like a barbell hip thrust. Haven't done that, I want to say, in 6 months. And honestly, out of both divisions that I did, I would personally want to compete in wellness again. And so that would have me to be more bottom half dominant. So my legs, my glutes, they need to grow, and I need to stay really small and tapered up here. So I'm interested in having a little gain season and then a little shred season, just to see if the physique will be good enough per se for that. But I don't know. I don't have a definite answer. And honestly, I wouldn't compete for a year or two for sure. Yeah, so that's my chit chat. I don't know how long this video is as of now because I can't see the time. But my newer interest, or not even my newer interest, but because I don't have to think about bodybuilding, my creative space in my brain has really opened up. Bodybuilding took a lot of my mental capacity, and so last week after the second show, going into like a fresh week of, I took a few days off of the gym, I was really eating crazy, I had to reel it in a little bit, but my creative spark was lit. It was waking up at between 5 and 7, having so many ideas that I need to write it down before I forget, making hella content to be able to post on my socials consistently, because I got out of it. And sometimes I do get out of socials a little bit for my own personal, like, mental, but I want to post more, I want to shoot content more, I want to be really dedicated to my YouTube channel, I want to grow my business. I have so many ideas that are coming, and I needed that space. So I'm happy to be done with that, so that my creative juices can flow a little bit better without being blocked by this one specific thing that took up so much time. So much time. Also, it's very time consuming if I didn't say that. So if you don't really got the time to be doing it, you're gonna have to make it. But yeah, that's my take on it. Like, I had a great time overall. I would say if you're really interested in doing it, definitely reach out to people who have done it. I would reach out to people who are still in their like first and second season, and people who have competed for years, just to see the two different sides of it. Like I said, save your coins, be ready to come out of pocket for some things. And I mean, you really got to have a mental like capacity to just go beyond what you think you are capable of, for your physical, your mental, and your emotional, man. It's gonna take you to some low points, but if you can dig yourself out every time, you'll be alright. You'll be alright. So thanks for watching another video. This is my last video of the Road to Julie Palmer series. Thank you so much for being a part of my journey with me. If you have any questions at all, feel free to ask. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.